Hello viewers, this is Kisi and welcome back to my channel. In this sixth part of my tutorial series working with step 7, I will show you how to configure hardware for the S7300. Okay, so we will now move on and look at what we will learn in this part. Before then, if you are new to this channel, kindly subscribe and also press on the notification bell so that you will always be notified whenever I upload new videos. So in this part, we will learn how to configure the S7 hardware for a project that is created with the project wizard. Also, we will also learn how to configure the hardware for projects created without the project wizard. So from here, I'll move on to my main screen and then I'll start step 7. So I'll double click on the step 7 icon. Okay, so it started now. So we'll move on to getting started project. So we'll click on cancel to cancel it. Then I will come to file and then I'll move on to my getting started project. So basically the project was created with the project wizard. So we can see that we have a schematic station already inserted. We have the CPU that we chose during the beginning of the project and also the S7 program where we've been writing almost all the examples that we've been doing in this tutorial series. So to move to the hardware configuration, you come to schematic 300 station. You see the hardware configuration on your right. You double click on it to open. Okay. So we can see that our hardware configuration is open now. And because the getting started project was created with the project wizard, we can see that the wizard has already inserted a rack and also the CPU that we chose during the beginning of our project also right here. All right. So now we will now look at what a rack is, and then we will insert the other models that were not automatically inserted. A rack is basically a metal plate that holds all the models together. So we will have the power supply. If you're using the S7 power supply, you have it sitting on the rack. You have the CPU also in here, the interface model, and then the signal models as well. So in between this rack, we have this bus connector that connects at the back of this rack that will link each model to the next model in line. Okay, so when we move on, we can see from this picture that we have the power supply, we have the CPU, we have the interface models, and this particular item is a rack that links between from one model to the other. All right. So right now with the understanding of what a rack is and then what the bus connectors are, we will now look at the models that we want to configure in our hardware configuration. Okay, so the examples that we've done in most of the examples that we did in this tutorial series, we've been using this PLC setup. We have the CPU, we have the one digital input card, and then another digital input/output card right here. Okay, so we'll move on to configure this particular hardware on our hardware configuration. So we'll be using an external power supply, so there will be no power supply inserted. And then the next item is our CPU is already here. We will now move to the interface model, which is supposed to be in slot 3, but we will basically not be adding any interface model. So we will move to slot 4 that will hold our input model. So from slot 4, we will come to the catalog and then look for S7300 items, which is the schematic 300. So I drop it. And then I move to the SM, which is the signal model. Drop the signal model. And then look basically from our picture. Our first card is an 8-bit card. So we look for 8-bit digital input card. So I'll move down here. This is a 16-bit card. We have an 8-bit card right here. So we assume that it's an 8-bit digital input 240 volts card. So if you want to insert, you can either drag and drop to the exact position where you want to place it. So we are done for the input, and then we can see down here the description for the input card is right here, and then the address that has been assigned to the card, we can see it right here. Okay, so the next item that we can add now is the digital output card. But remember from the picture, this card is having a 16-bit digital input on it and then the 16-bit digital output. Okay, so we'll go back to our hardware configuration. We minimize this one and then look for, sorry, we are still within the same set, and then we'll look for digital input / digital output card. We drop it, and then we can see the 16-bit digital input and then 16-bit digital output card right here, which is 0.5 amps. The actual description or the part number we can see right here. Okay, so this time I double click on it and we can see that it does occupy slot 5. Okay, so we can see them right here. And basically, this is how you insert the models when you create the projects using the wizard. After this, you can now save and compile, and then you can click on the download. So if you are having the PLC, you can connect to the PLC and download. If not, then you have to use the simulator. You can turn the simulator on and then click on the download button. Say okay. Okay. And it's asking me that I want to download. I said okay. Now it's telling me that the CPU will move to a stop mode. Do I want to start it? I say yes, start. Okay. So basically, this is how you configure the hardware after you created it with the wizard. All right. So with this one done, I can minimize this and then also close the hardware configuration. Okay. So basically, the hardware configuration of our getting started program has been configured and is working perfectly. We'll now move on and create a new project without the project wizard, and then from there we will also configure the hardware in this particular project. Okay, so to create a project without the project wizard, you go to File, then you come to New. So you can see that we have new project with the wizard, and then we have the new, and this one you are creating a project without the wizard. So I'll click on New. Okay, so it opens here for me, and then I need to give the project a name. So now I can call it any name at all that I want. So I will say S7 underscore 400. Sorry, S7 underscore S. Okay, so I click on OK. So I have my new project, and then you can see on the left side your hierarchy tree that you only have your project without anything inside it. So you can see that you don't have the hardware. You can see that you don't have the S7 program also as well. So after creating it, you need to right click on it and then you go to insert new object. And then you can see that we have various stations that you can insert. We are creating for a 300 station, so we insert 300. Okay, so we can see that a plus has been added to our system now. And then we now have a 300 station in our new project. But we can see that the project is still not having a hardware configured. So we don't still have a point where we are going to write our program. So you need to come to the hardware section, double click on it to open the hardware. Okay, so we have the hardware open now. So now you can see that with this, because we created it from scratch without the wizard, we don't even have a rack inserted. So now we need to insert a rack. So you come to schematic 300 station. Remember the project is 300, so we come to 300 station. You drop it and then you move to rack. You drop the rack and then you can select it. So you can double click on it to insert it. Okay, so we now have a rack inserted. All right, so at the first point of our rack is the power supply. If you are using an external power supply, then there's no need choosing a power supply. But if you are using the Siemens made power supply, then you can select the power supply. So in this example, we'll use the Siemens power supply. So let me bring the picture. The setup is going to be something of this sort with the power supply signal, the CPU interface model, and then SM. These are the signal model. So basically the interface model is blank, so we'll leave that section blank, and then we insert the signal model which is input, digital input, and then digital output. So we have a description of our power supply right here, which is 6ES7307. So move to hardware configuration and make sure that we select that suit the exact one that we are using in our hardware. Here, minimize this one and I go to PS. Power supply is PS, so we have PS 300. I can drop it now, and we can see that this is PS 307. It's 5 amps. So let me select this one and look at the description down here. And you can see that this description here matches exactly what we are looking for, EA80-0880, which is this very one. So our very hardware that we are looking for is this one. You can double click on it, and then you can see that it moves to the slot 1, which is dedicated for power supply. So we move on to slot 2, which is for our CPU. So basically, this is the description for our CPU. So we move back to hardware configuration. I have to minimize the power supply and then move to CPU 300. Okay, I have my CPU 300 right here. And then what I'm looking for is 314-1AG14. So let me see 314 right here. I can drop it now. So 1AG14. 1AG14 is down here. I drop it. So let me confirm again. It's 314-1AG14-0AB0. So this right here, and then we choose a version. So basically we will choose this particular version 3.0. So double click on it. Okay, so we can see automatically moves to the next slot, which is our slot 2, sorry. Now we move to slot 3, which is our interface model. But in this example, we will not be using an interface model. So we'll move to our slot 4, which is supposed to pick our IOs, which is our signal models. So we move to our signal card right here. Okay, so I minimize CPU and then move to SM, which is our signal modules. Then right there, I'm looking for a digital input card. So DI digital input 300. And then I come down here. We are looking for 321-EL. Okay, so we have a 321-EL right here, which is a 32-bit card. And then the signal type is 120 volts. Okay, so we double click on it. And then we can see our input card inserted right here. Our next item is going to be an output card, which is 322. We'll move back to our hardware configuration, minimize the input, and then move to digital output. So 322, which is an 8-bit digital output card relay type. 8-bit is HF01. Okay, so we have it right here, HF01 digital outputs, and it's -0AA0. So this is right here. So I select the next rack where I want to, the next slot where I want to put the digital output, and I double click, and then we can see it. So basically we've done the configuration, and then we can see that now we have our power supply, we have our CPU. The interface model, we did not insert any model type, and then we went to a digital input and then also added a digital out. You can see the addresses right here. You also have the flexibility to change the addresses in case the address range that you've been given automatically does not meet what you want. You can come here and then untick system default, and then you can change the address. Let's say I can change it to 6 and say enter. And you can see automatically it knows where I'm starting from. So it will give me the end address as well. It's a 32-bit card, so it will start from 6, 7, 8, and then end at 9. That's it for that. also you can do same. So you can come here if you don't want this address. You can unpick the system default and then enter the exact address that you need, and then it will readjust to give you the exact address. Okay. When you're done, you can save and compile, and then you can download onto your PLC. If you don't have a PLC, then you need to use the simulator, and then you can download. Basically, we've been able to configure hardware for project that we've created with the project wizard, and also one that we've created without the project wizard. And I hope this will help someone out there. Thank you all. See you in the next video. Bye bye.